With the release of Update 2.208 and 2.281, Geometry Dash players have been hit with an unfortunate reality. The updates completely broke the popular mod loader Geode, making it not load and in some cases crashing the game entirely. And this is not the first time this has happened either, as the same thing occurred with the previous update 2.207 and the update before that 2.206 and 2.205 and really every single update GD has received since Geode was released. Now, some of these make intuitive sense, like the jump from 2.1 to 2.2. 2.2 was such a massive update that it only seems logical that it will break things. But 2.208 is just a small update with a few new features, and 2.281 is nothing but bug fixes. And yet, both of these updates still broke Geode completely. What is going on? Why do GD updates break Geode? There are two reasons for this, and we will start with the one that is less true, but probably makes more sense. When GD is updated, things are often changed. A button that used to be over here has suddenly moved to the other side, new options get added, and sometimes there are larger gameplay tweaks, like the introduction of click between steps in the latest updates. If Geode is expecting these things to be as they used to be, it makes sense that things suddenly changing might break things. For example, in order to add click between steps in 2.208, RobTop completely changed the way keyboard and mouse input is handled, something that Geode and many mods depend on, requiring them to be fixed. The situation is even more clear when GD gets a new feature that used to be implemented in mods. For example, every new GD update usually introduces some new editor features, which usually also have to be conflicting with features I have previously added to better edits. This then forces me to reconsider my additions, whether GD has superseded them, or if my version of a given feature still has room to exist on top of GD's implementation. Regardless, it's a thing I have to spend time fixing in order to get better edit to work with the latest GD version. However, the thing is that aside from things like click between steps, the Geode mod loader itself is actually rarely affected by changes to the game. After all, the only real observable change Geode makes to the existing game is adding a single new button with the main menu. Most of the mod loader is built on top of GD's game engine, Cocos2D, and not tied to specific GD features. The new features of game updates are more often breaking individual mods. So, this is not really the reason Geode itself breaks after GD updates. And also, even mods that still shouldn't be affected by updates break. For example, 2.208 made no changes to how songs work, and yet Jukebox still broke. To understand this, we need to get a bit of a more technical explanation. The way GD works is that the code your computer runs to play the game is not actually the code that RobTop writes. RobTop is working in a programming language called C++, which is essentially just generic instructions of how the game should work. This C++ code is then given to what we call a compiler, which turns it into an executable program consisting of code specific to the platform the game will be running on. Essentially, RobTop is writing one piece of code and turning it into 4 different codes for each of the game's platforms: Windows, Android, macOS, and iOS. Now, Geode only has access to the codes that have been produced by the compiler, since RobTop does not distribute the original C++ code of the game to anyone. And the thing about the compiled code is that it is essentially random. Whereas RobTop might just make a small bug fix to his C++ code, like fixing the spelling of a label, the compiled code might just become entirely different. This is not RobTop's fault or anything, it's just a fundamental part of how programming languages like C++ work. Another thing about the compiled code is that there are very few things helping us keep track of what the changes are. Whereas in RobTop's C++ code, everything is named and organized, the compiled code we have access to is essentially just a long stream of numbers. With enough manual work, we can do what is called reverse engineering, essentially turning the compiled code back into C++, but this process cannot be automated, meaning it is something us Geode developers have to do by hand for every update. And so this is really the thing that makes GD updates break Geode. Because the compiled code is randomized, Geode can't figure out what to do with it without us first manually reverse engineering the compiled code and updating Geode. If you ever talk to a Geode developer in the wild, they will refer to this process as finding bindings. That is the main part of updating Geode to new GD versions, and also something that can't really be automated. Well, except it actually kind of can. The randomization that the compiler does isn't actually really random at all. Using something called signature scanning, we can actually automatically do most, if not nearly all of the work in reverse engineering the necessary parts to update Geode. In fact, our processes have gotten so fast that for small updates like 2.208, we can get Geode back up and running in mere hours. In fact, we did! While it hasn't been released to the public, our development team was running Geode just fine just a few hours after 2.208's release. So, why didn't we release it? Well, the thing is that there's a certain list of Geode features that are called breaking changes. These features are usually not something the average user can see while using Geode. Instead, they are features for modders themselves that improve the experience of developing mods. But the thing about these breaking changes is that, for technical reasons, they can only be released alongside GD updates in the very first Geode update that supports the new GD version. We can't release them at any other point, so whenever a new GD version drops, we have to get all of the breaking changes done before we can release Geode to the public. The reason for this is that breaking changes are, by their very name, breaking, as in they break every single mod all at once. The cause is a bit different from my GD updates break all mods, but it's essentially the same situation, except this time it's imposed upon us by ourselves rather than RobTop. And while the need for new breaking changes appears all the time, we don't want to be breaking all mods all the time. Instead, we can take advantage of the convenient fact that GD updates already break all mods, so we can roll out breaking changes simultaneously without causing any new breakage, since all the mods are already broken. This way, mod developers and users know that unless something absolutely critical happens, mods only need to be fixed every time a new GD update drops, and not every time Geode is updated as well. Now, if GD gets updated frequently, this all works fine. There's not a lot of breaking changes to make per update in that case. But if RobDev doesn't release new GD updates for a while, the list of breaking changes to make starts to grow. Eventually, when a new GD update is finally released, the list of things to do has grown massive, leading to a ton of time spent implementing all of the breaking changes. And now this is actually finally the real reason Geode is taking so long to release for update 2.208. It's not really the bindings, those we can find quickly, it's more the laundry list of breaking changes we can only make with new GD updates. Now, to save time, we can actually start working on most of these changes beforehand, and that is also what we did in this case. Unfortunately, when the update dropped and we got to working at full speed, we came to find out that there was a lot more stuff to do than previously anticipated. The main cause of this was web requests. One of the most popular mods on Geode, Level Thumbnails, has had a long-standing issue with lagging the hell out of the game. The cause of this is not the mods, but instead because the way that Geode handles web requests was severely unoptimized. So we got to fixing that. But then that small improvement turned out to break the entire mods list, making it lag to the point of crashing the game. And opening that can of worms would reveal that the entire internal message passing system, the thing that essentially holds Geode together, was, to put it simply, awful. So, something that was supposed to just be a quick fix suddenly turned into a weeks-long rewrite of one of the most important parts of the framework. Of course, one might ask, why would we do this? Geode was working just fine before. And, well, to be honest, the main reason is because we are all perfectionists. But also, Level Thumbnails is a significant mod that is actually suffering from Geode's legacy code, and also, if problems are left untreated, they will start to accumulate. Eventually, rather than a few specific mods being laggy, most mods would start to become hard to deal with. In programming spheres, this is referred to as accumulating technical debts, and it's not nice. Fixing these issues makes the modeler better for everyone, as well-designed systems have better performance and fewer bugs. So, while it is annoying that people have to wait, and also annoying for mod developers because they now have to spend more time updating their mods because of the changes to Geode, at the end of the day, the modeler we get out of it is better than the one before it. And for us, that is what matters. So, to answer the burning question everyone probably has at this point, is there any time estimate for when Geode for 2.208 will be released? And, well, the best answer I can give is soon. Probably. We've gotten most of the breaking changes done and have already made an alpha release for developers, but there's still a few things left to finish. We also want to give mod developers a bit of time to update their mods, since there's not much point in playing with Geode if you don't have any mods. So maybe it's a few days away, maybe a week or two, maybe longer. We can't really know, but we're working as fast as we can. Luckily, once it is done, subsequent updates like 2.209 or even 2.3 should be a lot faster, since then we only have bindings to find and don't need to redo the entire inner workings of the mod loader again. Unless we have to, but hopefully not. As a final note, I would like to remind you all that all of us working on developing Geode are students working on it as a hobby on our spare time. Programming takes a lot of time, and there's only so much we can get done when each of us only has a few hours per day available to work. This is mostly as a reminder to everyone who posts us less than flattering comments telling us that we are being too slow. I understand that people are frustrated without Geode, but honestly, not much we can do about it. We are working as fast as we can, but there's just a lot of stuff to do. I do also want to say that the vast majority of the comments and feedback we have gotten has been positive, and most people have been very polite about asking when the new Geode update is going to come out. It's just that there have been a few bad apples in the bunch, and while I know that this video will absolutely never reach them, at least everyone else will know that they are not helping by adding even more stress on us. And that's about it. I hope you all learned something new from this video. I will hopefully be making more Geode related videos soon enough, although given how my upload schedule has been in the past, I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. I'm giving myself a deadline of April 15th, 2036. Surely I can make at least one new video by then. Although, again, don't bet a lot of money on it. Thank you very much for watching. See ya!